completing the square method. Okay, now I want to point out something. Take note of this, please. So if you have x minus 2 squared, if you have x minus 2 squared, what does it mean? If you have x minus 2 squared, what does it mean? Of course, squared means you have to multiply. If it's 2 squared means you have to multiply 2 by 2. So in this case, x minus 2 squared means you're going to multiply this expression here by itself. So it will be giving you x minus 2 times x minus 2. Now let's expand this and see what it's going to give us. X times x gives us x squared. X times minus 2 will give us minus 2x. Minus 2 times x will give us minus 2x. Minus 2 times minus 2 will give us plus, right? Minus times minus plus, so 2 times 2, 4. Minus 2x minus 2s, like terms, alright? So that will give us x squared minus 4x plus 4. So this thing here is giving us x squared minus 4x plus 4. I'm trying to point out something here. Please, let's pay attention. Okay, I need us to get something. I'm trying to point out something here because we are going to use it here. X minus 2 squared is giving us x squared minus 4x plus 4. Note, so I can easily say if I have this, even without opening this up, I can say that x minus 2 squared is for me to square this one, which is x squared. Then the product of these two, whatever I have inside here, the product of them, time flies. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the roses. So the product of these two 2 times x, right? Then times 2. So whatever you have in here, the product, multiply them, then times 2. Thank you again for the rose. Thank you, I appreciate it. So x times what now? X times minus 2 will give us minus 2x, then times 2, minus 4x, right? Minus 4x. Then whatever I have here, the square of it. Whatever I have here, the square of it. So minus 2 squared, that's minus 2 times minus 2 will give us plus 4. Alright? Without doing this, for any expression, we'll always give you the answer. Okay, let's try x minus 3. Let's try x minus 3. So if this were to be x minus 3, I can easily get my answer and say it's going to give me x squared. X times minus 3, minus 3x, then times 2. I don't understand. Okay, pay attention here, please. X, if I have this, right, my answer, without trying to expand and all of that, I can easily get my answer. I'll just say the square of this thing, the first term here, which is x. The square of it, x, that's x squared, right? Then the next term would be multiply what you have here, that's x times minus 3. What is x times minus 3? X times minus 3 is minus 3x. Right? Then times 2. So the first thing is the square of the first one, the product of the 2 times 2. So in this case, minus 3x times 2. That's minus 6x. Then the third one will be the square of what you have here. Do we simplify linear equations? We've done all of that. We're on quadratic equation now. So minus 3 squared. Minus 3 squared means minus 3 times minus 3. Minus 3 times minus 3. Minus times minus plus 3 times 3, 9. Alright, so that's plus 9. Without expanding, I have gotten my answer to be this. Hello, Adaptobi, good evening to you. Welcome. So x minus 3 squared is for me to just square this one, multiply the 2 terms I have, which is minus 3x, then times 2, minus 6x, then square this one, alright? So that, please come again, okay? I'm going to come again. I will use another example. Let's use 4 this time around of this, right? What I will do, again, please pay attention. Square what you have here. The answer of this will be this square, which is y squared. Then multiply these 2 terms. Y times minus 4. That is, Fabi, I'm explaining again, okay? Please pay attention. The answer of this, alright, don't stress yourself too much, just pay, it's a very simple thing. This, whatever you have here, square, just write it. Y times minus 4, minus 4y times 2. That's minus 8y. minus 4 squared. That's minus 4 times minus 4 plus 16. That's what I'm trying to say. This is how you get this value, right? Whenever you have, no, I'm not in Lagos, I'm in Anambra State. So, if you have something like this, again, I'm going to say it one more time. This square, that's your y square. This times this, that's minus 4y. Then times 2, that's the second thing, which is minus 8y. Then the third one, you will square this also, just like the first time you square this. Alright? Minus 4 squared. That's minus 4 times minus 4. And that's plus 16. So that's this thing here. I know why I'm saying this, because we are going to use it in our workings. So you won't ask me later how I got that. Alright? So what I'm trying to say, let me come back to the first one I used. X, y minus 2 or plus 2, anyone. X plus 2. So x plus 2 bracket square. What would be my answer? X squared. X times 2, 2x times 2 plus 4x plus 2 squared, that's plus 4. So that's this expression, right? So if I see this expression, this is a perfect square. Alright, this is what we call a perfect square. I can factorize this to give me x. This 4 here is the same thing as 2 squared, right? So I can factorize this whole thing here to give me x plus 2 squared. So if you see this, you can reduce this to give you this. Are we following? You can reduce this whole thing to give you this. Now, so let's go to the real work. The real work. So how do we solve quadratic equations using completing? Yeah, okay. How do we solve quadratic equation using completing the square method? Let's take some examples. So number one. Examples number one. Number one says x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. X squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. So x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. The first thing you want to try, maybe you want to try your factorization method, alright? So if it does not work, then you change to the completing the square method. Completing the square method, not all quadratic equations can be solved using the factorization method, right? But we can solve it with the completing the square method, or your formula method, or your graphical method. Remember again, we have 4 methods, so this is the second one. So now, how do we solve this? How do we solve this? Completing. Thank you, Adam Toby. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So now, how do we solve this using the completing the square method? The first thing you are to do. Thank you, Salty Taylor. Thank you for the rules. The first thing you are to do is to move your constant to the right hand side. The first thing you are to do, there are steps, right? So the first thing you want to do is to move your constant to the right hand side. Thank you, Ejimali. So move your constant, in this case our constant is plus 2. Move it over to the right hand side. So it means we are going to be subtracting 2 from both sides. So okay, so x squared minus 3x. The constant, yeah, the constant is the one without the x. Just the number, it's just a number, alright? We talked about that in the last class. You see this one is x squared, this one is x, this one is the 2, alright? The general formula for every quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, alright? So this is x squared, the constant is a is a number, we just represent it with a in this case. X is also here, b is a number, but c is also a number, but no x, alright? Maybe you want to watch the video of the last class, it's on YouTube, so please go on YouTube and search for us, Learn with Austin. Learn with Austin 101 on YouTube, and the video is there. Okay, so let's continue. Again, I repeat myself, the first thing you want to do is to move your constant to the right hand side. In this case, our constant is plus 2. So you're going to move your plus 2 to the right hand side, and then you have what? Minus 2. Now, what's the next thing? You want to check the coefficient of your x squared. Make sure it is unitary. In other words, make sure that this thing here, you have just 1 as the coefficient. If it is 2, you want to deal with it. If it is 3, you want to deal with it. If it is 4, you want to deal with it. Whatever, make sure it is just 1. So of course we have just 1 here, so we can move on. Now what if it were to be 2? If it were to be 2, you have to divide by 2. And you're not just dividing this, you are dividing through by 2. So you're going to divide by 2, divide by 2, and these 2 will cancel 2. By then, x squared becomes, x squared will now have 1 alone as its coefficient. So, but now we are not having 2, so this is just what we have. X squared minus 3x equals minus 2. So, first step, move your constant to the right hand side. Second step, make sure that the coefficient of the x squared is unitary. In other words, make sure it's having only 1. You're welcome. Now, what's the next thing? The next thing is for you to, let me write it. Add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides. This is what you're going to do. Spartan, thank you for the rules. You're going to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides. Let me break it down. So first of all, where is the coefficient of x? This is the coefficient of x, minus 3. This is x. So this is the coefficient, minus 3. So half the coefficient, in other words, minus 3 divided by 2, that's minus 3 over 2. Then square of half, square of that half. So minus 3 over 2 squared. I hope we got this explanation. Whatever you have, thank you Rido, thank you for the rules. Whatever you have as the coefficient of your x, half of it, then square it, then you add it to both sides. Please ignore this minus, ignore this minus. You're just to take the 3 alone, just consider the 3 alone. Leave the minus. So take the number, half the number. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Add, we're going to add something. That's what it's saying. Add. What are we adding? The square of something. Square of what? Of half of something. Half of the coefficient of x. When you look at this, you look at the coefficient of x. What's the coefficient of x? Minus 3. You are going to divide it by 2. You divide it by 2. If it is 4, divided by 2 is 2. But in this case, minus 3 divided by 2. Thank you again for the gifts. Thank you. So minus 3 over 2. Ignore the minus, please. Ignore the minus. Just take the number. So 3 over 2. Then square it. This. So this thing you are seeing here, 3 over 2 square, you add it to this side and you add it also to that side. And then we're going to have x squared. We're going to have x squared minus 3x. Then that expression we had, which was what? Plus 3 over 2 squared equals minus 2, also plus 3 over 2 squared. In other words, we are adding it to both sides. Add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides. Where is the position 2 coming from? Yes, that's where half. Half means divide by 2. If it's a number that can give us a whole number, if this were to be 4 divided by 2 is 2, we just write 2. There will be no need for us to write 4 over 2, alright? But this is 3 divided by 2 is giving us remainder and all of that. So just write your 3 over 2 square. You add it also on this side. I hope we can see it. Let me write it well. So we're going to have x squared minus 3x plus half the coefficient of x squared minus 2 is here, then the same thing. Do we all understand? Do we all understand? No, ignore the minus. Barry, welcome. Ignore the minus. You're not, just focus on the constant, the number alone, alright? So do we all understand? Yes, yes, I understand. Yes. Okay. Yes. Where's the minus 2 from? Where's the minus 2? Minus 2 was there. The minus 2 was there. So just add this one to it. Yes, yes. Yes, not really. Okay. So I'm going to go back again one more time. So we've gone 3 steps already. What's the first step? The first step is to move your constant to the right side, right? And what's our constant? In this case, we have plus 2 to be our constant. So when we move it to the right side, this is what we have. The expression becomes x squared minus 3x equals minus 2. What if it was 5? Then that would be 5 over 2 squared, alright? So now what's the second step? The second step is for you to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is unitary. Make sure it is 1. Make sure you are having 1 as the coefficient of x squared. You don't want to have 2, you don't want to have 3, you don't want to have... If you have anything there, you have to divide through by that coefficient. You have to, if you have anything here, like 2 or 3, then you have to divide through by that coefficient so that you can clear out that coefficient. But in this case, our coefficient here is 1, so we can continue. Now, what is the next step? At the end, we're going to cancel each other. Okay, let's hold on, we continue. When we get there, we'll continue. So now, what's the next step? The next step is to add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides. Thank you, Wumi, for the rules. Thank you. So you add the square of half the coefficient of x to both sides. In other words, whatever you have as the coefficient of your x, half it. In other words, divide it by 2. Then square it and add it to both sides. And that's what we did here. The coefficient is 3. Focus on the 3. Please neglect the minus. So you take the 3. Why are we even neglecting the minus? Because at the end of the day, minus 3 squared will still give us positive. So we are not even looking at that. Alright? So take the number minus 3 in this case, divide by 2, then square it. Yeah? The same thing here. 3 over 2, square it. Good. Now what's the next thing? Remember the expression I was trying to explain before we came to this. I said if you have x plus 2 squared, that is going to give me x squared 2 times x, 2x times 2 plus 4x plus 2 squared. A perfect square. When this number here is half of this. That's exactly what we have here. So when I have this, I can write it as this, I can factorize it, I can reduce it to this. And that is what we have here. So I can now reduce this to become x, pick my x, the sign here, minus, pick this 3 over 2 here, then square all. Again, let me explain. So what you're going to do here, just like this, you are going to pick your x, pick your minus, whatever sign you have here. In this case, this is minus. If it's plus, you write plus. Minus. Then your 3 over 2, all squared. Just like this. I can rewrite this because my x, right? This plus here, and my 2, all squared. That's what we did here. Are we following? Are we following? If you're following, let me see thumbs up. If you understand what I did here, can I see thumbs up? Can I see thumbs up? If you got what I did, hello Morgan. If you got what I did here, if you understand, Andy says no. Factorization. Not. Okay, okay, alright, let me repeat myself. That was why I had to take time from the beginning to explain this process, alright? Because I know we're going to ask, how did we get this? And there was need for us to understand it here. Okay, some of us understand. Good to know that. So, I said, whenever you have x plus 2, all squared, Ajua Adipa, thank you for the roses. Thank you very much. So, x plus 2, all squared, right? What are you going to do? Oh, Morgan, no problem. Do I write my account number? If you cannot gift, you can make a transfer. You can do a transfer to this number. 3127333400. First Bank, the name is Augustine Okoye. You can make a transfer if you cannot gift. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alright, so now, x plus 2 all squared. Which subject's on Friday? Probably English. Probably English, alright? Okay. So we do basically maths and English. Queen Debbie, thank you everybody for the roses. Thank you, I appreciate it. God bless you all. Thank you. Queen Debbie, thank you for the roses. So when you have this, what it means is that you want to do this times itself, alright? So you're going to have x plus 2 and what? X plus 2. So that's what this means. X plus 2 all squared means x plus 2 times x plus 2, alright? So now let's expand this. This is quadratic equation, alright? Thank you, Mapuchu Paul. Thank you for the rose. Thank you. Alright, let's expand this. X times s will give us what? X squared. X times 2 will give us what? Plus 2x. Plus 2 times x will give us what? Plus 2x. Plus 2 times plus 2 will give us what? Plus 4. Now, these two terms here, 2x and 2x, are like terms. We haven't get there yet. Just do it manually. What do you mean, John Standard? Which one are you talking about? Which one? Alright, so these two are like terms, right? So we can add them up. Continue. So we have x times x, that's giving us x squared. X times plus 2, that's going to give us plus 2x. Plus 2 times x, that's going to give us plus 2x. Plus 2 times plus 2, that's going to give us plus 4. Thank you, Ajura. Thank you again for the roses. God bless you. I appreciate it. Alright? So now these two are like terms. We are going to add them up. Alright? So you're going to have x squared plus 2x will give us plus 4x. Then plus 4. So x squared plus 4x plus 4. This is what this will give us. In other words, what I was trying to explain without doing all of this, that you could easily get this, from here without going through this expansion process. How? What you just need to do, that anytime you have something like this, x plus 2 square, x minus y square, y minus 4 square, just square this first one. That's what we're having here, x squared. Then multiply them, x times 2, that's 2x. Then times 2. Multiply them times 2. In other words, the product of this times 2. And what is the product of x and plus 2? That's plus 2x. You're back to square 1. Yes, for those that did not understand, I need them to understand so that we all can go together. The answer, alright. So x times 2 is 2x, right? Then times 2 plus 4x. Now 2 squared, that's 4, alright? So anytime you add something like this, it will give us this. Now I said, thank you Sunshine, thank you. We can also go from this to this. All I need to do, remember 4 is the same thing as 2 squared. 4 is the same thing as 2 squared. So this is called a perfect square. So this is a perfect square. I can easily factorize this perfect square by taking this one here, especially when this is half of this, like we can see here. So take this one, take this, your plus, then take this number here, then put them in square. That's what we have here. So I can go from this to this, I can also go from this to this, right? Right, but know how we came about that. Okay, Sunshine. Whenever you get this, what you want to do is to take your x then the sign after it, which is minus, then your 3 over 2 all squared. That's the next thing. Equals your minus 2. Now what is 3 over 2 all squared? What is 3 squared? 3 squared is 9. What is 2 squared? 2 squared is 4. So this one we are going to solve it out. But this one you will use it, factorize it this way. Do we get this? Do we all understand? Are we all together here? At this point, are we all together? Are we all together? Kingsman says no. No, yes, yes, no. Please, I will say it one more time so that we can continue because of time. And if you don't understand with this example, maybe with the next example, you will get it. So when you come to this, what you want to do, please pay attention. You will pick one of this one, this x here, take it. The sign following it, in this case it's a subtraction. Put it there. take this one here, which is 3 over 2, which is also, then square all together. That's what you're going to do. Then solve this one also. Equals your minus 2. Then what is 3 over 2 all square? 3 square. Excuse me. What is 3 square? 9. Thank you, Esinas. Then 2 square, that's 4. So minus 2 plus 9 over 4. So why don't you pick 3x? Why don't I pick 3x? You want me to take it back again? You want to take it? Don't worry. Let's continue, please, because of time. Alright? So what are we going to do now? Let's solve this one. Minus 2 is the same thing as minus 2 over 1. Right? Minus 2 is the same thing as minus 2 over 1. So let's solve this. LCM of 1 and 4 is 4. 1 and 4. And by the way, I am creating a group of between 5 to 10 people, a private group. We're going to be having our classes 2 times, 3 times. We are starting on the 24th to 28th. That's 2 weeks time. We're going to start. I need 2 more people. So if you are interested, you can send me a message so that I can add you in and we can start, alright? Or if you need a private class for yourself, just you alone, contact me and let me know. Send me a private message, alright? So let's continue. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Now this is minus 2, so that's minus 8. Then your plus. 4 divided by 4. Emmanuel, okay, you can send a message. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times 9 is 9. So what do we have? Minus 8 plus 9. Minus 8 plus 9 will give us 1. I'm very good at it. Okay, minus 8 plus 9 is 1. So that is 1 over 4. So what do we have? We have this expression here. X minus 3 over 2 all squared equals 1 over 4. But all of these now are in brackets. What do we do for us to eliminate these brackets? Note, there is a square here. So we need to deal with this square for this bracket to be opened up. Now, how, someone should tell us, how can we deal with this square? What are we going to do to get rid of this square? The sunshine, this, what we have here, we brought it down. And what we have here, we have been able to solve it using the normal addition of fraction, LCM method. And we got 1 over 4. So now, what are we going to do here to deal with this square? Tino says square root, square root, square root. Good, well done, square root. Okay. So now we're going to take the square root of both sides. So we have the square root of x minus 3 over 2 all squared equals to the square root of 1 over 4. So what happens next? The square root cancel out the square. And what is the square root? I believe I can wipe out this one. So we have x minus 3 over 2. Because the square has been eliminated now. X minus 3 over 2 equals. Now note please. The square root of 4, please. At this level we should upgrade ourselves. The square root of 4 is not just 2. Yes, 2 times 2 will give us 4. AY go, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Now 2 times 2 will give us 4. But at this level we should also know that minus 2 times minus 2 will also give us 4. So the square root of 4 is either plus 2 or minus 2, right? So the square root of 1 over 4 is not just 1 over 2. It is also plus or minus 1 over 2. So 1 over 2 times 1 over 2 will give us 1 over 4. And also minus 1 over 2 times minus 1 over 2 will give us 1 over 4. Did we get that? Did we get that? Do you understand what I just said? When you have square roots like this, yeah, okay. When you have square root like this, a square root of a number, it could be positive, it could be negative. Yeah, okay. So that will give us equals the plus or minus 1 over 2. X minus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus 1 over 2. Kingfisher, you're welcome. Thank you for joining in. Now, what's the next thing? We need the value of x. So we're going to collect like that, right? So our minus 3 over 2 comes over. That means we are going to be adding 3 over 2 to both sides. And then x will be equal to 3 over 2. Minus 3 over 2 comes here, becomes plus 3 over 2. So 3 over 2 plus or minus 1. Okay. Okay, so I said x minus 3 over 2 equals plus or minus 1 over 2. We want to collect like terms. You're going to bring your minus 3 over 2 over, and it becomes plus 3 over 2, right? So then plus or minus 1 over 2. Why is it plus or minus? Yes, I explained that. Expert of Iba, you just coming in. The square root of any number. The square root of 4 is not just 2. The square root of 4 is positive 2. It could also be negative 2. Because plus 2 times plus 2 will give us 4. And because minus 2 times minus 2 will give us 4. So the square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. That's why. Alright? So that's why we have plus or minus 1 over 2. Because the square root of 1 over 4 is plus or minus 1 over 2. So now we have 3 over 2 plus or minus 1 over 2. Now, remember, quadratic equations, you have 2 roots. In other words, you have 2 solutions. So here, we are going to split it. 1 for positive, 1 for the minus. So now, x will be equal to 3 over 2 plus 1 over 2, or 3 over 2 minus 1 over 2. So 1 is plus, 1 is minus. This will give us the two values for x. So 3 over 2 plus 1 over 2, or 3 over 2 minus 1 over 2. Exactly, we are going to... In fact, we don't need LCM here, because if you look at the denominators are the same. So we don't need LCM, just add up some of the numerators. Remember when you are adding fractions and the denominators are the same, so just add up the numerators. In case you were not here when we did that. 1 over 5 plus 2 over 5 is equals to 3 over 5. The denominators are the same, just add up the numerators. Alright? Imran Rufin, thank you for the roses. Thank you for the roses. Alright, so this is going to be equal to 4 over 2, or 3 minus 1, 2 over 2. So what's 4 over 2? 4 divided by 2 will give us 2. And what is 2 over 2? 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And so therefore, the answer for x is either 2 or 1. And now we've been able to solve the quadratic equation, getting these two values as the roots of the equation. It's either 2. Please, can you teach me biology? That'll be expanding the scope. Hello, Namakula Aisha, welcome. Kingfisher, why are you not answering? Kingfisher, what was your question again, please? Why not minus 1? Abdulganiu, which one? Which one are you talking about, minus 1? Thank you, expert Oliver. Abdulganiu, which one exactly are you talking about, please? Amzi Khalifa said 2 minus 2 is 0. No, this is not 2 minus 2, please. This is 2 over 2. 2 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Nina, you're welcome. Abdulganiu, I'm waiting for your question so that we can move on to the next one. He said, why is it not minus 1? Which one exactly? Correct. Kenny Amatosha, thank you. Why don't you pick 3x? Why don't I pick 3x? 3x, 3x, 3x. Okay, I couldn't answer that because I have explained that over and over and over, so I don't want to go back again. For a lot of years in school, I explained like this. Thank you, Mr. Isaac. Thank you very much. This next one. All right, okay, let's move on. So example number 2. Example number 2. Example number 2, we have x squared. X squared plus 11x minus 14 equals 0. X squared plus 11x minus 14 equals 0. Again, using completing the square method. Of course, we've dealt with factorization method, so we are on completing the square method in case you... Hello Didi, you're welcome. What will be the first thing we are going to do? Using completing the square method. What's the first thing we have to do? Toluwani, that's why we are here. You're welcome. What are we going to do first? What are we going to do first? Take the 14 to the right, okay? Move the constant to the other side. Good. So the link on your profile is not working. Really? It's been working. Maybe I'll check it. Take constant to the right. No, I'm not using another method for today. For today, it's completing the square method. Subtract both sides. Exactly. Okay, good. All right, we are all following. The first thing to do when you are told, you might just be asked using factorization method, right? But if you are asked completing the square method, the first thing you need to do is move your constant to the right. Move your constant to the right. All right. So in that case, we are going to be adding 14 to both sides. So plus 14 plus 14. All right. So we have x squared plus 11x. This eliminates this, then equals to what? 14. So this is what we have. X squared plus 11x equals 14. So let me avoid us getting confused. So we're just going to have x squared plus 11x equals 14. That's what we have. Now what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing we're going to do? Now we've moved our constant to the right hand side. What's the next thing we're going to do? Thank you for following. Thank you for following. Please, can we continue to put our tab on our screen so that we can increase the likes on the live already? And if you're here to share the live, you want to share to those you know who will need this with factor. Okay? With factor. Okay, what if we have 2 here? What if we have 2 here? What if we have 2 here? Okay. Okay. What if we have 2 now? We divide our constants by 2. Okay, not just the constant. We need to divide through. Sunshine, I was asking what if we have 2 here? No, assuming this were to be the question. Assuming this is the question. 2, alright? So what if you're having 2 here? What will be the next thing? After moving your constants to the right, what will be the next thing? We need to divide through by 2. Because your coefficient, the coefficient of the x squared has to be unitary 1. It has to be 1, alright? So you need to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. I don't know, maybe we'll get an example like that one. But in this case, our coefficient is just 1, so we're not dividing by anything. Now, the next thing we are going to do is to what? Add square of half the coefficient of x to both sides. The coefficient of x is 11, so half of it is 11 over 2. 11 over 2 squared added to this side, 11 over 2 squared added to this side. 11 to both sides. No, not just 11, but half of the square of the half, right? So you're going to have x squared plus 11x plus 11 over 2 squared. You've added it here. You add it on this side also. 14 plus 11 over 2 squared. That's the next thing. I understand. Okay, I said the next thing is to add the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x. Okay, Sunshine, thank you for the game. Thank you, I appreciate it. The coefficient of x, which is 11. Add half of it, which is 11 over 2. Then square it. Get whatever the coefficient is here. Queen Benny, good evening to you. Welcome. How are you doing? Whatever the coefficient of x is, right? Divided by 2. If it is 10, divided by 2, that will be 5. So then square it, that will be 5 squared. But in this case, it's 11. So divided by 2, 11 over 2. That's 11 over 2 squared. Alright? I don't want to write a decimal, right? That's why I left it as 11 over 2. So now, you don't just add it to one side, you want to add it to both sides. Exactly. You always have the coefficient of x. Yeah, ANT. So now, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? What's the next thing we're going to do? What's the next thing we're going to do? What's the next thing we need to do? What's the next thing we're going to do? Hello, poem reader, you're welcome. What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? From the first example, work out the right hand side. Okay, so how do we do that? What are we going to do? This is what we're going to do. You pick this one, x. You pick this one, which is x. Then the sign after it, which is plus. Then pick this 11 over 2, then all squared. Whatever you have here squared, pick it 1. Then the sign, if this were to be minus, this will be minus. But this is plus, so this is plus. Then bring your 11 over 2 and all squared. Then equal to 14 plus 11 over 2 all squared. 11 squared is 121 over 2 squared is 4. Take this squared. Yeah, okay. Proceed. Now, let's solve this one. Let's solve what we have here. Note that 14 is the same thing as 14 over 1. So now, let's add this addition of fraction. What is 14 over 1 plus 121 over 4? LCM is 4. 4 divided by 1 is 4. 4 times 14. 56, yeah? Then plus 4 divided by 4, 1. 1 times this, 121. So that will be equal to 56 plus 121, 177 over 4. So that's what this is giving us, 177 over 4. Please, the video will be available on YouTube, so that you don't want to draw us back, so I don't go over explaining the same thing over and over. Please, loud. If you want to check us on YouTube, the video will be there. Learn with Austin 101. Learn with Austin 101. Alright? Learn with Austin 101. Thank you. So, just know that this is what we're going to do. I explained it from the beginning. I've explained it. Alright? So now, what are we going to do next? Square root both sides. Do you understand that? Okay? Square root both sides. Square root both sides. Thank you, Bolex. Thank you for the roses. Yeah, we're going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of x plus 11 over 2 squared equals the square root of 177 over 4. Why are we square rooting both sides? Thank you, Bolex, very much. Thank you for the roses. So why are we square rooting both sides? So that the square root can cancel the square, right? So now square root cancel the square, and x now plus 11 over 2 will be equal to this. What's the square root of 177? What's the square root of 177? Whatever it is, it's going to be plus or minus, right? Plus or minus the square root of 177 over 4. X plus 11 over 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 177 over 4. So, what's the square root? Someone help us. What is the square root of 177? Someone help us check. Square root of 177, what will it give us? Okay, you understand that? Thank you. The square root of 4 is 2, yeah. But what about 177? What's the square root of 177? 13.4, 13.30. Okay, good. So 13.30. So we have x. And by the way, your plus 11 over 2, let's move it to that side. Plus 11 over 2 goes there, becomes minus 11 over 2. So it will be equal to minus 11 over 2 plus or minus the square root of 177 said 13.3 over the square root of 4, 2. This is what we have. So x equals minus 11 over 2 plus or minus 13.3 over 2, right? So now we're going to divide them. We split them, one for addition, one for subtraction. So we're going to have x now equals minus 11 over 2 plus 13.3 over 2, or minus 11 over 2 minus 13.3 over 2. So one is addition and the other is subtraction. Can you leave your answer there? No, we cannot stop here. We're not done. We're not done. We'll have to finish it. So now, what is this? Both of them are having the same denominator, so we just sum up the numerators. So what is minus 11 plus 13.3? Minus 11 plus 13.3. 24.3. Note, this is, I am owing 11 and I have 13.3. So if you take away the 11 that you are owing, you are still having 2.3, so it is 2.3. Yeah, to 2.3. So minus 11. will give us 2.3. Hello, Larry, good evening, welcome. So that's equal to 2.3 over 2. Or, how about this one? Minus 11 minus 13.3. Minus 11 minus 2.3. Minus 13.3, sorry. So minus 11, I am owing 11, I am also owing 13.3. Means altogether I am owing 24.3. Yeah. So minus 24.3 over 2. Let's express it as a decimal, right? So 2.3 over 2, what will it give us? 2.3 over 2. 2 into 1 point, 1 in 3, 1 remainder 1 at 0, 5. 1.15 or minus 2 into 1, 2 in 4, 2, your decimal point, 2 in 3, 1 with the remainder of 1 at 0, 5. So 1.15 or minus 12.15. Those are the two roots of the equation. Sunshine says you lost. Where? Where? Can you tell us where exactly, Sunshine? Where? So that we can go back a little. Yeah? Perfect. Thank you. For the one who says, wow, okay. Please, let's move to the next topic. It should be the next example, I guess that's what you want to say. Okay? Sunshine, I'm waiting. Okay, let me just explain this again. What we did is minus 11 over 2 plus 13.3 over 2 and then the minus. Minus 11 over 2 minus 13.3 over 2. So 1 is plus, 1 is minus. Minus 11 plus 13.3. Please, do you do it every day? No, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Jamal, you're welcome. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Minus 11 plus 13.3. I said whenever you have all this minus this plus this, easy. Minus 2 plus 5. You just say I am owing to negative minus I am owing plus I have. Minus I am owing plus I have, right? So I am owing 2.5 5. I am owing 2.5 5. I have to pay what I am owing. So out of my 5, if I give you 2 I'm owing, I still have 3. I have plus 3. But what if it is plus 2 minus 5? Or just 2 minus 5? In this case, I have 2. I am owing 5. I have 2. Then we're continuing. We're going to continue. I have 2 and I'm owing 5. In this case, what I have is not even enough to pay what I owe. So if you give the 2 that you have, it means you are still owing 3. You owe minus 3. Alright? Good. So minus 11 plus 13.3. Minus 11 plus 13.3. I'm owing 11, but I have 13.3. I have 13.3, but I'm owing 11. So if I take out this 11, I still have 2.3. That's where we got the 2.3. So over 2, right? Or minus 11 minus 13.3. So I'm owing 11, and at the same time, I'm also owing minus 13. I'm also owing 13.3 because both of them are minus minus. So I'm owing 11, I'm owing 13.3. Means altogether, I'm owing 24.3. No, that's multiplication. That's where it comes to multiplication. Then that's multiplication, minus times minus, not addition. Minus 3 minus 2 is not the same thing as minus 3 times minus 2. Please take note. I get to the second, this one. This minus here is this minus, alright? So we split that is 1 is addition, 1 is subtraction. So minus 3 minus 2 is not the same thing as minus 3 times minus 2. Minus 3 minus 2 is minus 5. But minus 3 times minus 2 is plus 6. Alright? So take note. So that's minus 24.3 over 2. Now when we divided this, 2.3 over 2. 2 into... Oh, our time is up. We're going to stop. 2.3 over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then your decimal point... 2 divided by 2, 1, yeah? Decimal point. 3 divided by 2, 1. 2 divided by 2, 1. Or we say 2 into 1. Your decimal point. 3 divided by 2, 1. In other words, how many 2 can we get in 3? It is 1 with a remainder of 1. So 1, remainder of 1. There is nowhere for us, no number for us to move the remainder 2. So just have it there and add 0 to it. Then 2 in 10 becomes 10. 2 in 10, 5. That's how we got the 1.15. Or minus, in this case we have minus 2 divided by 2, 1. 4 divided by 2, 2. Your decimal point, 3 divided by 2, 1 with the remainder of 1, add 0, 2 and then 5. That's that. So it's either 1.15 or minus 12.15. Alright, let's move on to the last example, and that will be it for today. The last example. The last example for today. So this one says, number 3. This one says 2y squared plus 5y minus 20 equals 0. 2y squared plus 5y minus 20 equals 0. You're welcome, Jean. Stand up. So what are we going to do here? Again, completing the square method. The first thing you want to do is to move your constant. Thank you very much for all of this. Move your constant to the right hand side, right? So minus 20 moves over. Thank you, February. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, well. So minus 20 comes over and becomes plus 20. In other words, we are adding 20 to both sides. So you're going to have 2y squared plus 5y equals 20. Now tell us, what are we going to do next? You should stand up, not today. The next method we are going to look at is the formula method. We call it almighty formula. The formula method. So 2y squared plus 5y equals 20. What are we going to do next? Well, it says divide through by the quotient of y squared. Divide both exactly, good. Because this has to be unitary. This has to be 1. So we need to deal with these two. Well, okay. So we need to deal with these two. How do we do that? We need to divide by 2. And it's not just this, divide through. So all of them divided by 2. So these 2 cancel these 2, and you have y squared, then 5 over 2, you have 5 over 2, because it's not a whole number, it's either a decimal or a fraction. So 5 over 2y equals 20 over 2, 10. So what's the next thing we are going to do? What's the next thing we are going to do? Kingsman, who said add the like? Skippy, there are no like terms here yet because this one is y squared, this one is y, this one is not even having any, it's just a constant, so there are no like terms here. Well says add half the square of y to both sides. Thank you. Add square of half the coefficient of y to both sides. Add the square of half the coefficient of y to both sides. That's the first thing. Check for your coefficient of y. In this case, it's 5 over 2. So what is half of 5 over 2? Divided by 2. Divided by 2. So divided by 2. And that will give us 5 over 2. Divide that times 1 over 2. And that's going to give us what? 5 over 4. So half of 5 over 2 is 5 over 4. Alright? Now, we're going to square this half. Remember, add square of half the coefficient of y to both sides. Add the square of half the coefficient of y to both sides. So, what is the coefficient of y? 5 over 2. Half of it, 5 over 4. Square it, and that's what we have here. Then we're going to add it to both sides. And so we're going to have y squared plus 5 over 2y plus 5 over 4 squared equals 10 plus 5 over 4 squared. That's what we have. So we have y squared plus 5 over 2y plus 5 over 4 all squared equals 10 plus 5 over 2 squared. Now, let's solve what we have here. 5 squared is 25, 4 squared is 16. So that's going to give us y squared plus 5 over 2y plus 5 over 4 all squared equals 10 plus 5 squared, 25 over 4 squared, 16. So solving what we have here, 10 is the same thing as 10 over 1, LCM is 16, 16 divided by 116, 16 times 10, 160. Plus 16 divided by 16, 1 times 25, 25. So 160 plus 25. 160 plus 25. Did anybody ask a question? Favor. Awesome, thank you very much. Thank you. Favor says, what's your question? What's your question? Halima, thank you for the rose. Thank you. Favor, what's your question? Quickly, ask please. The third line. 1, 2, 3. Thank you again, Halima. Thank you. Appreciate it. And by the way, you're able to join in. Okay, so this one, Favor, yeah? Okay, let me just explain this. So this year, I said you will add, let me write it out. So you add square of half the coefficient of the variable. It could be x, it could be y. Thank you, favorite. Thank you. Of, in this case, it is y. So of y to both sides. So add square of half the coefficient of y to both sides. What's the coefficient of y? The coefficient of y, Dolly D, good evening. The coefficient of y is 5/2, right? So half of it, what is half of 5/2? Half of 5/2 is 5/2 divided by 2. 5/2 divided will give us 5/2 divided by 2. That's times 1/2. I hope you're following, please. That's going to give us 5 times 1, 5. 2 times 2, 4. So that's 5/4. So half of 5/2 is 5/4. Yes, good. Then the next thing is to square that half. If this were to be 4, half of 4 is 2. Then you're going to square 2. You're going to write 2 squared. But in this case, what we have is 5/2. That's the coefficient of y. So half of 5/2 is 5/4. Then square it. So that 5/4 square, you're going to add it to the two sides. Thank you again, favorite. Thank you for the mics. Thank you. Alright, so that's 5/4 square. You add it here and you add it there. Now that's what got us to this point. Now what's the next thing you're going to do? You want to open this up, right? So 5 square and 4 square is 16. So we have 10 plus 25/16. And 10 is the same thing as 10/1. Right? So 10/1 plus 25/16. What's the LCM of 1 and 16? 16. Is Favor still following? 16 divided by 1 is 16. 16 times 10 is 160. Plus 16 divided by 16 is 1. 1 times 25. Good. 25. So 160 plus 25 is 185. That's what brought us to this point. Alright, so we have 185. So we have equal to 185/16. What we have here, you take one of this y, take one your plus, then take one of this 5/4 all squared equals this. Now we need to deal with this square. How? We need to take the square root of both sides. Thank you, Janet. Thank you very much. So take the square root of this and take the square root of this. Then what are you going to do? The square root will cancel the square, and then you have y plus 5/4 equals the square root of whatever. It will give you plus or minus any value, right? So plus or minus the square root of 185/16. Someone should help us to check it, the square root of 185. So now what are we going to do? The next thing we want to do is to move this our 5/4 over, because we need the value of y. So we're going to move 5/4 over to 5/4 plus or minus. What's the square root of 185, please? Well, it says 13.6. Thank you. So 13.6 over the square root of 16, 4. Thank you, Janet. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So now, what's the next thing we are going to do? Again, we are going to separate this into two. 1 plus and 1 minus. So y will be equal to minus 5 over 4 plus 13.6 over 4, or let me write it out clearly. So it will be equal to minus 5 over 4 plus 13.6 over 4, or minus 5 over 4 minus 13.6 over 4. So positive one side, negative the other side. Minus 5 over 4 plus 13.6 over 4, or minus 5 over 4 minus 13.6 over 4. Now let's solve them separately. So both of them are having denominators of over 4 over 4. So let's focus on the numerators. What is minus 5 plus 13.6? Minus 5 plus 13. Okay, well says 8.6. Thank you. I am owing 5 and I have 13.6. So if I give out the 5 that I'm owing, 8 p.m. when it says Fridays, 8 p.m. on Friday, Mondays 9 p.m. So minus 5 plus 13.6 is 8.6. So we have, so y is equal to 8.6 over 4, or minus 5 minus 13.6. Minus 5 minus 13.6. Yes, thank you. What is minus 5 minus 13.6? Okay, well says minus 18.6. Where did 5 over 2 go to? Okay. Amradam, please, you want to check the video. Maybe you're going to check the video on YouTube so that you understand better. What is minus 5 minus 13.6 minus 18.6? Minus 18.6 over 4. Alright, so these are the two values for y. Now let's completely solve this. What is 8.6 divided by 4? 4 in 8, 2. Your decimal point. 4 in 6. 4 in 6 is 1. Remainder 2. Add 0. 4 in 25. So one of the values of y, or one of the roots of y, is 2.15, or this equation is 2.15. Or you have your negative minus 4 in 18. How many 4 do we have in 18? That's 4. 16. So with the remainder of 2, your decimal point. 4 in 26. 4 in 26 is 6 with the remainder of 2. Add 0. 4 in 25. So the two solutions to this equation is 2.15 or minus 4.65. And that is it. Any question? Any question? Data you need to go in quadratic, the decimals are. Data you need to. Decimals are not always exceptional. Any question? Thank you, thank you. I am going to give us an assignment. Okay, D says I have a question. Deluxe rather. What's your question, please? Okay, if you have a question, please, can you ask your question? I'll look into the workings again tomorrow. Alright, the video will be on YouTube. Okay, ask your question, please. Can you please explain the first one too? The first one? So the first one? No. What do you mean by the first one? First example, first one. Assignment, the last part. The last part, this one, is it the division part? 4 in 8 is 2. Then your decimal point. 4 in 6, 1 with a remainder of 2. Then add 0 to the 2, it becomes 20. 4 in 20 is 5. Why did you add square root to it? Yes, for us to eliminate the square, you square root both sides so that the square root will cancel the square. Okay, I was late. Can I get a question again? Can I get the question again? The question was 2y squared plus 5y minus 20 equals 0. Assignment coming up, please. 2y squared plus 5y minus 20 equals 0. That's the question. Okay. Alright, assignment. Of solving quadratic equation, solve the following. Number 1, x squared plus 2x, x squared plus 2x minus 2 equals 0. Number 2. Good evening, Omokwe. Please, how day is this lesson? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Number 2, 3x squared. 3x squared plus 12x minus 10 equals 0. And number 3, 2x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. And when I talked about if you need a primary tutor, it's not just the secondary, even the primary. If your child, your son, your daughter is in the primary, and maybe you want to get them up on maths, all right, you can also contact us. We are available. So these are the 3 questions you have assignments: x squared plus 2x minus 2 equals 0, 3x squared plus 12x minus 10 equals 0, 2x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Solve for the roots using completing the square method. Okay, that's the end of today's class. You're welcome, Digger. Thank you too for being here.